the life of the party is a pretty great Frasier episode. Definitely a few moments that I really enjoyed. This is the 22nd episode of the 5th season of Frasier. This is directed by Jeff Melman, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And this one starts off rather delightfully with Martin in the kitchen. Daphne is trimming his hair and he's looking through what he calls his geezer mail, as in posts that he gets that's directed at older people. And Eddie is sitting on a chair beside him and he's just absolutely adorable. Daphne suggests maybe Martin might like to dye his hair if he wants to look and feel younger. And we'll come back to that in a bit. Frasier and Niles then come in. And they are, as usual, complaining about their lack of love life. And Martin suggests they host a singles party, which is what Martin used to do back in the day. Initially, they think, no, I don't want to do that. And then Martin kind of suggests that maybe they can just do a 10,000-piece puzzle instead. That could be fun too, which I have to say does sound like fun. But they realise maybe the singles party is not a bad idea. And the bulk of the rest of the episode, not all of it, but a bulk of it does take place at this party, and we have a lot of people there. It's a really nice atmosphere, really well done. And when we first see Martin, he has dyed his hair. And honestly, I don't think it looks bad. Like, if that's what he'd always looked like, I probably wouldn't think anything about it. But it is quite different. It really is. And Frasier and Niles both happen to like the same woman, which is going to cause problems. Martin, though, he hits it off with somebody. It's going really well, and they're about to go and get a drink. And Martin realises his hair dye, has left a stain on the back of the white chair, and he doesn't want to stand up because the person will see. Honestly, I feel it. I really feel it. My hair is not black naturally. So whenever I dye my hair, I do spend like a few days just avoiding touching anything, because even after I've rinsed it out, I just feel like it's clinging to my scalp. And yeah, I would avoid white things at all costs. Martin didn't have that knowledge though. And it seems like it's not going very well for anybody. Frasier and Niles keep trying to insult the other person or put the woman off the other person. The kitchen's on fire at one point. It's quite a disaster. And then Roz goes into labour. And we spend the rest of the episode down in the hospital, and we have this lovely moment actually, because Daphne, her date didn't go according to plan either, and she meets Frasier, Martin and Niles at the hospital, and they're all whinging about their bad evening, and Daphne interrupts them and says, "Our friend's having a baby in there." And just when she said "our friend," it's maybe one of the first times where I've really thought about the fact that Roz isn't just Frasier's friend. She's friends with the others as well. I know she's like played cards with Martin and things. I think that's happened before this episode. I can't remember chronologically, but it's kind of really nice to acknowledge that they think of Roz as a friend, not just Frasier's colleague. And I thought that was really lovely. And then Roz is wheeled out mid-labour and they're all supportive, and then they go back to bickering again. And I want to praise the episode for not dragging it out, because within about 10 minutes, she goes into labour, her waters break, she goes to the hospital, and she's had the baby. And I love that. There was no need to make it any longer. Some TV shows would, and they didn't. And we get to meet baby Alice, and it was kind of scary, actually. It's a beautiful, beautiful moment. Really realistic as well. I want to praise them for that as well, because a lot of TV shows, when they have a scene like this, the woman will have just given birth and she looks immaculate. Makeup perfect, hair perfect, and the room itself looks way over the top and more extravagant than the person could ever afford based on, their life and income. But with Ross's situation, just the entire scene felt so believable. And I really appreciated that. And I got really emotional because Frasier held baby Alice. And of course, if you've been watching the reboot, Alice is in the reboot. She's grown up. She's at college. And it's scary to think that little baby there is now a fully grown adult. Like that's a scary passage of time. And it was a really, really beautiful moment. And it also made me think of Frasier and Freddie not yesterday. 4 or 5 days ago, I watched the episode of Cheers where Lilith tells Frasier she's pregnant. And Frasier excitedly announces to the whole restaurant that he's going to be a father. And then just seeing him holding this baby, it just takes me back to Frasier of that time as well. And it was a very emotional scene for me for multiple reasons. And if you're a Frasier fan and you've seen the show and then you go back and watch this, I think you'll find it quite a beautiful moment as well. and then it ends with Frasier hitting on the nurse. And the nurse asks, what about Roz, who is now asleep? And Frasier basically said, forget about her, not explaining that they're not in a relationship. And of course, the nurse walks away. So nice to end on a bit of comedy there, because it was quite emotional, beautifully emotional, but definitely a beautiful scene. But nice to kind of end on a little bit of comedy there. It's a really great episode. Personal highlights: the opening scene with Eddie, Martin's behaviour when he realised he died the back of the chair. And also the reveal of Martin's hair as well. I thought that was just a really, really good moment. Daphne referring to Roz as our friend. And then Roz with the baby. And then Frasier holding the baby as well. Really great episode. And genuinely a little emotional. The Life of the Party is a really beautiful episode of Frasier.